So let's welcome both of our next guests here on stage. We have Loell, who is director at Omnicom Media Group, and then we have Kathrine Rønhof, which is head of Matas Media. Before you start your session, can you please tell me a little bit about what do you hope this session will be helpful for the audience, Kathrine?
Yeah. Well, I think I would like the audience to get inspired, especially concerning the retail media scene, what we're seeing today. And I would love to give them some insights into the journey of retail media at Matas and where we are today and where we hope to be moving tomorrow.
What about you, Peter?
Yeah, I'm sort of hoping that everybody will see how big a wave this is within media and advertising, and how this will influence a lot of the stuff that we're going to do in the both near and long-term future. And I also think that some of the perspectives are very interesting to look at right now, because it can actually shape some of the ways that we plan, buy, and understand media.
Oh, that's good. So we're going to have a look back to see where it all started, and then have a look into the future and what's ahead of us. Great, thank you. I'll leave it up to you, and I'll just say good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Hello, everybody. So this is a two-part scenario, and I think I would like to go back. There we go. So I'm actually part one. I'm going to talk a little bit about how this retail media wave is going to change a lot of what stuff we do in media and advertising today. And then I will hand it over to Kathrine, who will show you specifically what it is. So I represent a little bit of the backstory, a little bit of the past, and she is the future. So this is how it's going to play out. And at the end, hopefully, there'll be a lot of questions, and we're also here afterwards. So we're open for discussions, and you can also throw stuff at us if you don't agree. Now, retail media and what is happening is actually driven by a number of factors. You probably noticed that there are so many crises now that we call it polycrisis. We see that there's been a corona crisis, inflation, climate, energy, war. We even have an existential crisis with AI right now. A lot of the discussions yesterday were actually about that. And we're also in a constant state of crisis, and that puts a lot of pressure on a lot of markets and a lot of technologies and a lot of businesses, but also on a lot of media. And one thing that we're seeing that's happening right now is that everything that seems to be consumer-facing is turning into an advertising business. And I have just taken a few examples here, but you probably noticed that Netflix, Disney, HBO Max will all introduce advertising as part of their subscription. You already have it with Spotify, for instance. But we can also see that Samsung is turning into an ads business. You can buy advertising on their screens. You can even buy advertising on their phones. LG, same, TV, smartphones, and other stuff. Even some of the e-commerce providers, e-commerce technology providers, are entering the advertising business. So you're actually able to buy advertising on their platforms towards users. And even good old Apple is turning into an advertising company. Again, they used to be that, but now they're back. They're hiring people to sell advertising, and you probably noticed that in the App Store there's advertising. You also probably noticed one or few examples in the home screen. So now Apple is also becoming an advertising company. But how does this all relate back to retail and retail media? Well, interestingly, all of the sales channels are also turning to advertising, and they're also turning into sort of media and advertising powerhouses. And this is what we call retail media. There was a study not so long ago where it looked at how advertising and media actually had developed through the years, and we used to have search advertising as the big one. And then we had social advertising, and this, the latest wave, is retail media advertising. I listed a number of reasons for that, but actually there's one major reason why this is becoming so popular. Amazon has extracted in Q1 23 almost $10 billion from advertising from brands that are actually sold on their platform. So you're already on the platform, but you also pay for advertising. It's a fantastic business for them. And when they started publishing these numbers, everybody looked at it and said, we want to do an advertising business as well. How can we extract money and sell advertising to people who are in our shop or on our platform? And I've just taken a few examples of these, but there's so many ways now to buy advertising on their platform. You can buy search listing ads, you search for a specific product, video, and all the other stuff. But to bring this into a classic retail environment, I've actually taken the number 2 in the market, which is Walmart. And they don't actually feel like number 2 because they're so big in their marketplace. But I just want to show how they actually do the stuff and to give you an example of where this can actually lead. As you know, when you go into Walmart, you use some sort of loyalty card. So you register your purchase in there. And that is actually some very foundational data because you know what people are buying and you know what people are in there buying. And that means that they are able to sell advertising to all of the categories. I'm just taking a few examples here. This is the barbecue category within Walmart. It also pretty much looks the same in the aisle. But if you look, and I know this is very hard at the very end of this, of this room, but it actually says sponsored. So everything in the barbecue category on the Walmart website and in the app is actually sponsored products. So if I want to sell a product on Walmart, I have to buy advertising if I want to be seen in front of this. So if I, as a hypothetical example, am Sweet Baby Ray's and want to sell my 1 gallon of barbecue sauce, and you obviously want to sell 1 gallon because in the US the barbecue grills, they're the size of swimming pools, so you need something like this. Then they can sell me placements in their emails, in their app, on their site, and in their store. And they know specifically who in the market have used to purchase barbecue sauce but haven't bought something in the last month. So they can make an audience out of that and sell that audience to me on these placements. But it doesn't stop there, and this is where it's getting very interesting. They can also handle the rest of my media budget. Because they know who is probably going to buy this product, they can take that data that they have from the loyalty card, and then they can do my YouTube campaign, my Facebook campaign, my Instagram campaign, and then activate that audience in all of these channels. Another very interesting thing is they're constantly finding new places where they can utilize their data, putting on new channels, and finding out where they can actually make a difference. CTV, Roku, TikTok, Snapchat. And they're also experimenting when I go down and scan my loyalty card, they can actually place an ad in front of me which is relevant and probably very valuable to the brand who is buying that. And once all of this has happened, what's interesting is they're able to prove that it actually works. Because when I buy something, I do it with my loyalty card. So they can actually see that the Sweet Baby Ray's advertisements led to people actually going into the store, seeing this ad, buying this product. So they say they're able to do an almost closed loop attribution, saying that this influenced this. Now, not surprising, this is something that is even turning up in their earnings reports. They really love it. And probably everybody who works in the retail business understands that if you can make 2% on selling milk, and if you can make 40% on selling advertising, well, you probably want to do more advertising. So as you can see here, the margin structure of the advertising business and a 30% year-on-year growth, this is something they really love. So they are really moving into the advertising business at full steam. And one of the reasons why this is also getting interesting is because of all the crisis happening with the inflation and everything. It's also driving a lot of the brands into the advertising business to look for new revenue streams. And the revenue streams are interestingly coming from somewhere else. For instance, someone like Walmart, they used to make money out of selling leaflets and placements in store. But the money is not actually coming from the shopper and trade marketing budgets. It's new money. It's actually from the search budgets. It's from other digital media. But in reality, a lot of it is totally new money. This is also why someone like us loves this, because new money in the advertising space is always very interesting. And I just want to give an example. So if I am the brand, why should I pay money just to promote my products within something like Walmart? Well, it does make a lot of sense, because you're in a very attractive ad environment. This is where the buyer is. This is where the buy will happen. This is the place to be. And You used to place your money in a lot of other stuff. Now you can actually digitize it and prove that it works. And then the supplier, the Walmarts of the world, what they have is also they have this deep transactional data set. They know what you bought. They probably know what you're going to buy. But they also know where you live. They know what your interests are because they do a lot of progressive profiling. So because you're able to be where the buyer is, this is actually replacing some of the spend in Google world. Now, this is just how crazy it is in the US right now. These are all of the different retail media networks that sell advertising to the brands that are on their platforms. Some of them are e-commerce based, some of them are classic retailer. So the e-commerce based you saw, that was the Amazon world, and the retail owned, that is the classic Walmart. One of the reasons why this is also getting so interesting is because of all of the COVID pandemic e-commerce buildup. A lot of these suppliers, retailers, they build a lot of presence as to media. So they invested heavily in their e-commerce capabilities, but they also invested heavily in content. So they're actually turning into something which is bigger than media. I have the Walmart example right here. As you can see, on a given month, they have 212 million people going through their store. So advertising there actually makes them bigger than any media. They have 140 million people visiting their website. Also bigger than most of the media. So they're now a media powerhouse, and since they sell advertising, they're also an advertising powerhouse. And you can see some of them down below here are not that big yet, but things are happening. Now, I have a few thoughts on this subject. So right now, what is really killing it is that search is shifting towards product searches on a lot of these retail media placements. So this is probably some of the most important oxygen right now. But we can also see that the year-on-year growth, as to retail media, as to advertising, but also as to audiences, is just growing phenomenally right now. It's actually becoming one of 6 of the dollars, which is probably going to retail media advertising. This is reshaping everything we know about how advertising works and how we plan it. We've done a lot of analysis saying, how do we actually build something like this and how does it work? I won't go into depth with that because we have a stellar example coming quite soon. But one thing that is quite interesting is that a lot of these have a very big ambition, which is to offer non-endemic advertising. And I just want to show you what endemic and non-endemic means, because endemic advertising means that it's something that's actually sold on the platform or in the store. Non-endemic is that you sell advertising to people who are not in your store or not on your platform. So for instance, in Walmart, you can have an insurance company buy advertising for travel insurance if people buy sunscreen or sunblock or something like that. And this is, I call it the gold. I actually had more up there, but it's very ample. That roof is actually on the top of this. But what's interesting is that this is really going to raise the amount of money that is seen within retail media. As you probably guessed, with all of the combatants and with all of the fuss about this and all the buzz, there is a lot of people interested in getting a piece of this pie. We can also see there's a lot of interest in getting people to register everything they do, every buy, because then it actually becomes a much more valuable audience that you can sell back to the brands that you want to buy your advertising. One issue in here is that perhaps it's going a little bit too fast right now, because what we're seeing is that some of the forecasts are actually going a little bit down. They're also very optimistic in the beginning. And there's also some discussion as to this advertising. Aren't you just forcing people to buy advertising on your specific platform because they're in your store and now you're basically doing an extortion? You're trying to blackmail them to buy more. So there is a forced marriage in this, at least for some of the publishers. And then the big discussion on this is also, what about the user that sits on the other side and just want to buy barbecue if everything is sponsored? Are you really offering the next best offer to the customer that they're interested in? Or are you giving them the next best sponsored offer? Are you really doing your best to actually heighten the customer experience, or are you just trying to make a lot of money? Well, the balance seems to be quite clear at Walmart. And the other thing, which is also somewhat problematic, is that if they are the only ones advertising and they're registering everything, well, obviously everything works with them. So every advertising leads to some sort of purchase, and every purchase can probably be tied to some sort of advertising. So they're sort of grading their own homework. You should probably be careful about that. But I think interestingly, and where this could potentially go, there's a lot of development, and I've just taken a US example of this as well, because what we're seeing right now, and one of the reasons why someone like Walmart and some of the retail media players are trying to move into, for instance, television, is because there's a lot of elements that they can actually use. I've taken an example here, which is from the streaming service Hulu, which is pretty big. You can also buy the same on Disney, probably also on Netflix soon. They have a pause ad, so every time you press pause on your streaming, this QR code comes up. So you're actually able just to scan this, and then you can go into the specific shop. So now you actually can close the loop. And I've also seen a few examples where it's basically a takeover, and then you can click and get recipe ideas and coupons and everything. So this is probably one of the areas that they want to get into, having very, very closed loop as to marketing and sales. But the single biggest issue that we've identified is that all of this seems to create a sort of organizational overload, both with the people who are trying to sell the retail media, but also those who are buying it. It sort of reminds me of a few years ago, and I don't know if there's anyone from the financial technology industry, but all of the big banks, they wanted to have fintech divisions, so they put a lot of people in a room with a lot of colored Post-its, and then they were very creative, but they were told, you can't touch the actual business, you just do your stuff over here. It seems to be the case with many of the players in this market, is that it's become pilots. It feels like they don't really mean it. But I think that you need to fix the organization so someone has a clear role and responsibility as to how you're going to build a retail media business, but also from the buying point of view, you also need to understand what is it actually you're buying. Do you have an organization that understands it? Is it the people who are working in trade marketing? Is it the brand marketing people? Or is it somewhere else entirely that this will originate? So that was just the warm-up. The interesting bit, as I say, will commence now, and I will hand it over to Kathrine.
Thank you, Peter. So we actually used to work together, Peter and I. I spent 7 to 8 years in the same company as Peter, and quite a few years later, I left the agency scene to go work for Matas, and this is what I'd love to talk to you about today. So Peter's been talking a lot about trends and global trends and a lot of US trends, which is highly relevant because that's where it all originated and that's where we're really seeing the growth. And my part today is to give you some insights into a more Danish and Nordic scene. And I would love to know how many among the audience are from Denmark and how many are from other lovely countries. Okay, so then I won't spend too much talking about the next slide. You should all know Matas among the Danish listeners today. Matas is the leading beauty and health retailer in Denmark. We have close to almost 270 stores. We just released our annual report from last financial year yesterday, so I can inform you that we almost reached 4.5 billion Danish kroner in annual turnover. We have a very, very high knowledge rate of close to 100% because we've been in the market since 1949. And I don't think anyone among the Danes here is not aware of Matas and the position that we have in the Danish market. But what we're also proud of, and I can tell you a funny story. I used to work with the marketing director in Matas. She's now left us. She used to be with Matas for 30 years. And she could remember a funny little meeting now 12 years ago among the sales representatives from all the stores. And she posed the question saying, who among you thinks we should open up a loyalty club? And by raise of hands, I think it was close to 50%. But even so, Anne-Lene chose to move forward with Club Matas, our very big loyalty club. And I'm so thankful to Anne-Lene that she did, because I wouldn't be here today and we wouldn't be pushing retail media if we didn't have Club Matas. We have the largest Danish loyalty club, with 1.8 million members today, and by whom 1.5 are active. So a very, very strong gold egg, I think we call it. We're also online market leader. We have more than 10 million monthly visits to Matas DK and our app. So that was just a quick review. And I think what the story is in the media, or has been the story over the last couple of years, is the transformation that we've been through. We've gone from very classic, old, brick and mortar retailer with close to 100% store sales in stores, to where we are today, where we have more of a split, close to 26% online sales, and we've reached 1 billion in our online sales. We did that a few years ago. So a huge and very successful transformation. And I can tell you, also to the listeners who are not Danish, that back in 2017 or 18, the talk of town, or what was, the journalists and the corporate journalists writing about, was that Matas is going to be the next Fona, and you remember Fona, closed down. And that was sort of at least the future that we predicted. So happy to say that did not happen. Today, and I think that sort of proves the journey that we've been on when it comes to omni-retail. We've gone from being the last on the list when it came to sort of the popularity among web shops, and today we're the second most popular. And we really want to beat Zalando, but it's a tough fight. It's a very, very big company, and they seem to be outgrowing us a bit when it comes to popularity and growth. So, but at least very, very happy to be the second most popular web shop in Denmark. And I think equally important is the fact that we've worked so hard on improving our brand and our brand perception, that today we are, and we're just excited to see the next measurement, but today we're now the third most popular brand. So not only popularity when it comes to buying products from us, but also on the brand perception, which is really important when it comes to also retail media and our partnerships with our vendors and suppliers. And then turning a bit to media. It's not new for Matas to sell media. I think Peter made that point clear, that if you are a classic retailer, selling media is part of our core business. It has been for more than 25 years. I managed to find the oldest example of our cover from one of our leaflets. You can see things have changed today. But just to say, we've sold media for more than 25 years. We've sold leaflets, we've sold in-store placements, and then 12, 13 years ago, when we launched our Club Matas, we started selling emails, and then moving into Matas.dk, we started selling placements on website. But I think what has changed significantly is the way we develop media, the way we approach new media, and also the way we sell our media. And this is a rapid growth. It's changed over the last 3 or 4 years as I've been there as head of media, but right now I see an even more rapid growth and development. Today we base sort of the way we work with retail media on a vision or a dream, which I helped formulate quite a few years ago, about becoming the inevitable and also preferred media choice among all our partners. So it's not all about just pushing media, but we want to create really strong partnerships with our partners, because we are, we can't have a retail media business without having a very close relationship to our partners, the suppliers in Matas, because those are the ones buying our products, basically. And we seem to be succeeding with our vision. We measure our sort of supplier satisfaction once a year, and we're happy to see that the overall satisfaction with Matas Media, with my core business, has grown or improved 180% over the last couple of years. So somehow we seem to at least manage to become preferred and become inevitable. And inevitability is also seen in these numbers. These are the sort of total media sales. And as you can see, at least over the last couple of years, we've seen quite an impressive growth in media sales. And that more or less touches base with Peter's point is that we're moving from just gaining pure trade marketing budgets to actually getting the hands on the big budgets, the brand marketing budgets, the national advertising budgets. And that's where, I'm sorry, the potential is. Trade marketing is great, but the huge potential is among the other types of budgets. And then also the performance media performance budgets that Peter talked about. I think this one proves the fact about transition, digital transformation I talked about just before in overall online sales, but also in our media sales. We've seen a huge transformation in the way we sell our media. So today, or at least, a huge growth in online media sales. So moving from just leaflet, in-store placements into more and more online sales on top of our total growth. And we believe that the key to success, as I said before, is about placing the partner brands, the brands that we want to position together with our partners in the heart of our collaboration. And we surround them with sort of 3 key areas: insights and strategy. So the way we utilize our Club Matas data, we take the data and we use the data in the way we formulate and build strong brand strategies. We take that into our creativity because you all know it's great, yet we know who the consumer is, we know where to expose the consumer on our platforms, but if the content is crap, then nothing's going to work. It's 50% of the effect is with content, so we need strong content, and we've spent quite a lot of resources building a very strong creative team, which I'll get back to. And finally, and that also touches base with being a retail media partner, is efficiency. Because we're so close to sales, we are lower funnel, and if we can't prove efficiency of our efforts and the campaigns they invest in, they're not going to put money with Matas. And all that leads to, hopefully, more love, more preferred partner. We've built our offering around 3 central areas. First, Matas Media, which is sort of the core business, where we offer some, efficient, innovative, creative media solution. This is where all our media belong, and I'll talk about it in a while. Insights, Matas Insights, was a new business area, and I don't think you touched, well, you did sort of indirect, Peter, but Insights business in itself is a very, very strong business area in Matas. I'll talk about it in a few slides to explain how we position our insights and how we just sell insights today. It's not only part of media business, it's a unique singular business in itself. And then finally, creativity, as I just touched base with. I'll get back to that. But first and foremost, the media, the core business. I think, Peter, you framed it very well with your Walmart case. And I can be frank to say we're never going to go where Walmart is. There's also a bit differences when it comes to legislation. We have GDPR in Denmark and in Europe, which Walmart does not have to care about. So I think the key difference is that we are never going to offer advertising to suppliers or partners who are not sold in Matas. I had a few interested partners coming from Omnicom asking if they could buy placements on matas.dk, and I said, well, no, because you're not sold here. We never want to offer advertising or expose our customers to anything that is not relevant, because we believe in customer lifetime value. And we want to keep our customers loyal, and we want to increase their baskets and repurchase rates. And we can't do that if we keep exposing them with advertising that is simply not relevant. So that's the key sort of focus area in the way we develop media and the way we sell media. And if we take sort of a classic customer to Matas, a quite pretty one, and we sort of look at the day, an average day, we think about the way we create content, the way we expose our customers from sort of a day-to-day approach, saying, okay, in the morning, we want to hit her when she wakes up and looks at her phone with our SoMe channels. We have close to 750,000 followers. Over. And then, landing at work, she's exposed with an email, of course, a relevant email from one of our CRM flows, telling her what to buy and not to buy and what to believe in. And then, she's bored at lunchtime, she visits matas.dk, and she'll be exposed with even more advertising from our partners. In the afternoon, Somi again hitting stores on her way home from work. And I want to point that one out. I call it materialist. It's a poor word because I don't think it exists in English. I'm sorry. It sounds like a song from Madonna, but a material girl. But anyway, we have our employees at Matas stores. And I think it's sort of a core. What's a good word for that? I think it's another gold egg at Matas that we educate our employees in stores. They have a 2-year education, and we're close to 85% of them being educated. And that's why they're able to offer guidance and advice in stores. And again, you can't buy these, I'm just going to say. They're all objective. It's not possible to buy them as a media. But I think they're a unique selling point also for our vendors, that these are the people that you go to for advice. And then our leaflet, I mentioned it before, it's still a big success. And when we talk to global vendors, L'Oreal, Estée Lauder, some of the others, they have no understanding that a beauty retailer can have a successful leaflet, because leaflet is associated with only grocery retailers. But we actually do. We still have close to 900,000 readers. We send it out bi-weekly. And what is most important is it has a strong conversion rate. 75% actually visit stores after reading. So it really drives people to stores. And therefore, it's still a very important media for Matas and for our vendors and suppliers. We launched Matas Live during the Corona crisis, where everyone was sent home and no one could go to stores. Well, actually they could, because we were pharmacies, so we were able to keep our stores open, at least some of them. But we launched Matas Live in 2 weeks, from the idea to sort of execution. And today, I'm proud to say we have such a high average watch time or view rate. And also the content we create in my live session is then uploaded into the brand pages on Matas.dk, creating sort of evergreen content and sending a lot of relevant traffic from search into our brand pages. We also do spend a lot of money together with the vendors on national TV advertising, which is still a very strong platform for us to be on. And then finally, of course, our app, our very beloved app. And more traffic and more online sales is going to go through the app, which is great, because we have a very strong app with close to 1 million downloads. And then, Peter, you talked a bit about first-party data. I think you also quickly explained it for those who is not necessarily working with this type of advertising. But the data we get from our 1.8 million members, we're only able to utilize the data because we have a very strong permission structure. So from the very beginning, and Elena, I talked about her previously, she was quite good at saying, okay, we need to secure that we can then segment, we can then actually execute campaigns towards our Club Matas members. So today, when we do use our first-party data, both on our own campaigns, meaning an email and so on, but also when we use it off-site, so moving into Facebook, Google, and Instagram, and so on, what we see is a significant improvement of campaign efficiency. I'm not going to put numbers up here because that's a bit secrets from us, but we do see a very strong improvement of efficiency and ROI. And because a lot of you are also tech people and media people, I thought it would be relevant to give you some insights in where we are today and where we're moving when it comes to sort of tech enabling us to segment and to make use of our first-party data. So today, across our channels, with our emails, with our app, and with Somi, we're able to utilize our data and to segment and to target consumers, both based on transactional data, interest data. But and that's back to rapid growth and rapid development. We are right now working with new tech, new software, which is going to enable us to utilize us on our digital leaflet, on Matas.dk, and on Live. So in a year's time, I would say the only place where we will not be data-driven and will not be able to offer segmentation is going to be our physical stores. And that's a matter of investment. We could invest in digital screens, but it's quite expensive when you have 263, 65 stores. So I think that'll be the next thing. But for now, this is where we are and moving. And then when it comes to insights, as I said, our 1.8 million customers, it's great. We can use them and we can target campaigns. But we also have the opportunity, because we have our permission structure, to communicate and to do analysis, all types of analysis with the same consumers. And that sort of enables us, and this is where we become competitors, Peter, it enables us to exclude costly third-party companies and enable us to sort of provide very strong insights at very strong prices. Because we don't have to go out and buy these consumers. We don't have to do trackings or anything. We have the data. We have the data in-house. So we've built an insights business consisting of two areas. First, a dashboard solution through Power BI, where our vendors can log in and they can follow sales, they can view who their customers are, and demographics on customers, they can track their campaign sales and look into digital performance on Matas.dk. But on the other side, we also do sort of ad hoc analysis. We do brand trackings, we do market potential analysis. And I think our strength here is not only cost, which is great, and they love that, but also because we're so close to the business and we understand the business. In some terms, we understand it a bit better than a third-party agency. And we also have a sort of a joint venture with our vendors. You know, if we improve something that improves sales, it improves our turnover. So it's sort of win-win-win. This is just an overview of some of our dashboards. And we've done some of these market potential analysis, and what is very positive is that we receive some very strong feedback, very positive feedback from suppliers saying that, this type of analysis was really, guiding our way into, this was a launch analysis into the Danish market. And as I said before, it's win-win-win, because if we do analysis that can sort of give them insights to change their brand strategy, to change their communication strategy, it also ends up improving business results. So in this case, we saw a huge increase in customer base and sales and so forth. So that's where we call it win-win-win. And then finally, just teeny tiny bit of creativity. We've spent quite a lot of resources building our creative team, because we also want to be known for the results that we can achieve with creativity. And we call it, again, finding the sweet spot, because we're a big brand, and as you saw, we've been working on improving our brand perception, and we want to keep it there and improve it even further. So again, not creating content that is going to conflict with brand perception or go against consumer perception. So finding that sweet spot where the brand is positioned together with Matas that really hits with the consumer and is relevant. And we're not there yet. I'm going to be very honest. We've moved from 100% supplier-controlled content, which is where L'Oreal just sent us content from their global teams, and we would just post it on our channels, to where we are today. We are creating more and more native content and enabling brands to be integrated in our native content, and then again asking them to pay for that, which is again win-win-win, because it's part of our brand strategy and it's a lot more relevant with consumers, and therefore performance is much better. So this is a transition. And this is just a taste of some of the content that we created. Again, very Nordic and very, I'm not going to say Vogue, but at least very politically correct. We're not just viewing a lot of pretty thin women, but we're actually displaying just how we are. And then just 2 minutes on where we're going. This was a lot about where we came from and where we are today. And this one you've seen before. Mine is just older than yours, Peter. I'm sorry, you had the updated one. But basically, we agree. This is a trend that has, really influenced the way we view media at Matas. And even though it's US numbers, we do see some of the same trends in Denmark and in the Nordic scene. More and more suppliers want to place their investments with a retail media network because they can see an improvement and they can see a stronger ROI. But I'm going to be honest to say, we have work cut out for us, because it sort of comes with new demands and new requirements. And we've had quite a lot of talk with our very big suppliers because they also work with the big retail media networks in France, in UK, in the US. And we use these partners to sort of push us in the right direction and to let us know if we want to grow this even further, and we do, what is needed. And first of all, we need to act more as a real media owner. Today, we are first and foremost, we are retailer. And then we've added retail media. But if we are to really embrace this trend and this movement, we need to think more of a media owner. We need to be both Google and Matas. And we're not there yet. It has to do with organization, as Peter mentioned. It has to do with tech. And it has to do with the way we report. And that's actually the third point. And then clear media proposition is, everything is rapid, everything is growing, and we run with, too many miles per hour, and we forget to stop and do strong cases and to build our media proposition, and to evaluate and to actually prove the efficiency. So that has to do with the clear media proposition, building the strong use cases. And then finally, maximizing our data even further through stronger tech solution and through better reporting. And again, being very honest, because I think that's the way we move forward. We are not there with our reporting yet. We've moved a long way over the last couple of years, but there is still quite a lot of work cut out for us. And it all has to do with resources, as you mentioned, Peter, organizational resources. So I think this quote is quite perfect to sort of finish off our setting, Peter. It's just beginning to realize its sort of considerable potential when it comes to retail media. And it's about to get a lot more interesting. The US is far ahead of us, but right now we see a rapid growth in the Nordic markets, and we are sort of trying to hit that wave. Just to finish off back to your part, Peter. So I think that was it for us. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks to both of you for sharing your story with us. To sum it down, I'll just have a final question, because I'm really impressed with you coming from, what was it, top 10, top 20, where you were behind schedule, and now you're number 2. I mean, that's impressive. Can you just tell me what was the most important change you did to become number 2? I mean, what did you do before and what do you do now? And what change was the biggest one that succeeded for you?
Well, if you would ask Gregers, our CEO, who's been part of that change, because it all started when he landed in Matas, I think it has to do with embracing the market trend and then convincing a board that we need to invest. This is all to do with investments. And convincing both markets, because we're a public company, that we needed to do a huge investment in building technologies, in building our online web store, in building new warehouses, to be sort of able to service this part of the business. So I think that was a huge change when he landed.
And if I ask you, Peter, the takeaway for those businesses sitting here today, how can they implement your thoughts and your development into their mindset?
Yeah, so what's interesting, if you're a media or tech provider, you can actually benefit from some of this, because some of the media placement, some of the media buys, some of the advertising money is actually going back into the actual media. So it's not just buying on the retail media, they are using their data to buy in the open market. So connecting into that is very, very interesting. I think it could be a win-win-win-win relationship for everybody.
Well, great, thank you. Thank you both for joining us on stage. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.